Oh, can you hear or see me, Laura? I cannot hear you, but that doesn't mean that it's because of you.
Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Nice.
Okay, hey. Okay, bear with me. Zoom was giving me some problems joining, so, and I think the link in the meeting notes doesn't have the password embedded, and so it wasn't working for me, so I need to change that link. Edit, I'm gonna do it right now. Apply, that way if somebody uses it. Hey Arno, thanks for joining.
Hello.
Please bear with me while I bring up the notes here. And if any of you are on the Slack channel right now, I forgot to put a reminder out that we're meeting today because I've been in back-to-back meetings since 8 this morning. So I've not had a chance to do much of anything. Let's see, share. Where is, okay, so you see the notes, right? Yeah. Hopefully you see them.
Yes, we can.
Yep. Okay, awesome. So let me just create a new one here. Today is the 7th. Okay, and then I will copy and paste this into the chat. If I can find the chat, there it is. If you can sign in, that would be awesome.
I put a message on Slack.
Okay, thank you.
It's been level 3.
Okay, yeah, and if you all can sign in, that'd be fantastic. Clean up to do. So I don't know if you all have heard about the storms in Texas, but a lot of my trees are down in the backyard. So I have a lot of chainsawing cleanup to do. I'm not doing it, but it needs to get done. So I figured I'd share that little tidbit that if anybody else listens to the recording or joins from Texas, I feel for you. Okay, so updates. We did submit all the talks, which is awesome. We got to submit all the talks. Let me do, I don't know why these are, oh, I want regular bullets. So we submitted all the talks this weekend because of the storms last week. One reason why I didn't join last week, and Bruno had to fill in for me. I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do by Friday. So on Saturday, I think it was Saturday evening, is when I submitted the AppSec condiment, the good, bad, and ugly, and Salsa with Us, the Dance of AppSec. Arno submitted the ketchup mustard one. And
yeah, I didn't have the bio of everybody, but I did with what I had. I think we can always have that later on.
Yeah, the same with me. Luckily, I was able to find some bios, like Laura. I was pinging Laura on LinkedIn, Laura, give it, but obviously she didn't see it in time, but I just scraped what I could.
Yeah, I did the same, but
yeah, so
in particular, I couldn't find anything. I don't know. I don't even know his title. I couldn't find it, but
okay.
I figured the most important was to have the submission in and have the name of the people, and the rest we can figure out.
Correct. Yeah, and so I'm gonna copy these up here because we did submit these, which is awesome. For the AppSec condiment, that's the beginner session. I put myself and Laura. Laura has slides already that we can use and we can tweak. And so she's given talks like this before. So potentially, we can swap as primary, secondary. I know, Laura, you said you might have travel restrictions, so we'll see how that plays out if it gets selected. But hopefully Emmy will will allow you to join if it does get selected. Oh, I already copied that. And then Josh did a fantastic job. Like, I don't think he was working on it overnight or like, previous to our discussion, Arno, but he did a really good job of coming up with a last minute
Yeah.
abstract and talk for the SLSA 1.0. And we came up with the title to tweak it. I don't know if you have that link, Arno, for his.
Yeah, I can look it up. It's in SLSA. Wait, it's in Slack somewhere. If I can find it, I'll put
It is. Only if you can find it. So we were able to. Yeah, so we submitted all of these. This one we did put it in as a panel, as was discussed last week with Arno and Michelle. Oh, Michelle, you're here. Global AppSec PC is accepting C. Is there a way we can coordinate on submissions? Sure. Do you have a link to that?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to deliver it because I'm local. That's the only reason why I bring it up. That way that nobody has to worry about travel. If we can agree on a deck, I'm happy to do that as I'm in DevRel, so I do that kind of thing all the time. So
yeah, here, give me 1 second, Michelle.
But the deadline is they extended the deadline. I don't know how this got past me in the first place. I'm usually on all these lists, but I got the follow-up. So they extended the deadline for CFP until February 13th. So that doesn't give us much time. If somebody want to give me an abstract, or if you want me to make it up, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, so I can give you everything that I submitted 3. Arno submitted this one, and then Josh submitted the last one. I'm getting the link from Arno.
I have it actually. Where do you want me to put it?
In the notes.
Yeah, but where?
So do you just want me to sort of cobble together something based on all of those? Is that okay for me to represent the SLSA effort?
So if we're able to use what we have or what we have submitted, that would be great. But I guess it depends on what it is, because 2 of these are panels discussions, right? So we need to have a panel of people to deliver. One of them is a lab. We don't have the tooling for it yet. So depending on when this conference is, if Mike Lieberman, as an example, would be available, those are the kind of things we'd have to consider for that one. So it depends, but we can definitely coordinate that and give you most of the abstract is here. I think I tweaked a few words or something so that grammatically it sounded better, but for the most part, what we have here is what we submitted. We just added people to the panels or to the talks.
Yeah, I probably won't, unless we can commit to people flying. I don't know if they want to fly in for AppSec DC, but I'm happy to like pick one of the ones that isn't a panel. Is it on here? Is it pretty clear which ones aren't panels and which ones are?
So this one here, I'll do it up here. This one is a beginner session.
Okay.
This one's a panel.
Okay.
It's good, bad, and ugly, and the ketchup mustard are panels. The others are not.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's really only one.
Beginner. Yeah, maybe the beginner one or something. And can I change it? Is there like a deck that we're using? Is there like
there is a deck that we are gonna start from, but we haven't finalized that deck in any way, shape, or form. So this one is the other one, Dancing Our Way to SLSA 1.0. This one I would not submit unless it's Mark or Josh, right? That's presenting as the maintainers. dancing our way
Okay.
to.
No, I don't want to be presumptuous.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
that,
meant to be a bit more technical for sure.
yeah,
So-
and,
I mean, I
and
can do a technical talk, right? I was a product security architect. It's not a problem, but I don't want to be presumptuous if it's their content.
yeah.
No,
So
I don't
this,
think that's a problem really. It's just that they have, I mean, it's not just about salsa, right? It's about also how is salsa evolved from 0-1 to 1-0.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that history. I mean, I'm not super.
That's why I
comfortable
was
with-
saying that. I don't mean to, you know.
yeah.
No, there are plenty of like talking heads that aren't technical, don't have a technical
sorry.
background. So that's, you know,
Yeah.
it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I will.
And this one, Josh did write up. He came up with the
okay.
write up. The title. He even came up with the title, and we tweaked it, right? So this is kind of Josh's baby right here. Versus
No
the
problem.
rest was done, I know, with you, right? you
Yeah, I
helped us
have
with
my
the
own.
title.
I have my own, like. So here's the thing. I have my own sort of supply chain sort of discussions, but I usually throw in some Dora, some MBSP, some other stuff. But what I'm asking is, do you want me to do it as a salsa specific talk? If you want one of those, I'm happy because I'm local and it's a backyard event. I'm happy to do that for you guys.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll have to. The only one right now that I see that could be done locally
one.
without anybody traveling, except for
Okay.
you, would be this beginner session. But the rest rely on the panelists, and they rely on tooling. So that's really the only one I can see right now. That doesn't mean that we can't come up with other ones.
Okay.
But this one wasn't on our radar. This AppSec DC.
Yeah,
so,
it wasn't on my radar either. So, but other, if you're not putting AppSec OWASP events on our radar, I would recommend that we do. That's our target audience in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Just suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the challenges, that there are a lot of conferences and we've not been given direction which ones to focus on. And so we're trying to figure this out as we go. So we'll see.
Well,
I did.
typically that's pretty much left to us. Nobody's going to tell us what to do.
Well, so it was more from the perspective of the supply chain integrity working group, right? I think we're trying to have more alignment together to try to have the coordinated talks and then try to focus on specific conferences, right? But yes, for salsa, we have fair game, but it's just more of just trying to be in alignment, right? If we're trying to represent the group, then trying to represent also a CI, if we can agree on a small subset of conferences, yes, and then anything in additional, it's okay, but at least give us a small list of, okay, this is what we want to target. I think that would be really useful. Yeah. Okay. I did put a please sign in if you haven't already up top. So this one, I think you said February 14th deadline. 14th deadline.
Michael has his hand up.
The 13th. It's a 13th. I have to submit by the 13th. I can just cobble together from that if that's okay with everyone. I just don't want to piss anybody off.
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, we created this with you and with others, the abstract. So, I mean, I'm not married to it. I think the only ones, this one I would say stay away from because that's Josh's.
No problem.
Yeah. So Mike, did you have your hand up? I didn't see it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think generally, I can't talk to everybody, but I believe like the majority of the perspective we've gotten has been like, yeah, submit to, anybody can submit to anything. Whatever groups, want to. Obviously, there's going to be a bit more of, we might find a kinder audience or a more receptive audience to something like the OpenSSF day or open source summit stuff that's directly aligned, but there's nothing preventing us. And in fact, we should be encouraged to sort of reach out to some of these things. It's just, I think a lot of it is based on the individual groups and for example, what conferences are nearby to other folks, what conferences are, can folks, get to, and that sort of thing.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with you, Michael. I mean, so I have participated in these kind of committees for a long time. I mean, the general kind of rule is, there are main conferences like the LF, Open Source Summit. There, we definitely need to coordinate, because otherwise we would have many people submit similar content or presentation that would not be very helpful. But then beside this, there are plenty for the conferences. Anybody is welcome to go and
Yes.
talk to whatever they want.
Correct.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't mean to, if people understood it that way, I didn't mean to imply
Right.
that we can't.
Well,
It's more of, we're trying to do more of like
and
a
in my
maintainer
experience,
thing.
people are even willing to share content. If you say, hey, I have the opportunity to go present there, does anybody have slides with this or whatever? I think, as far as I'm concerned, I've shared slides
I just
for a
want to
long
be on
time.
message. Right. But I just want to be on message. And, I can go and just, I've brought up salsa before in other talks I've done, but if I'm going to, it seems like this is an opportunity to be on message and really push the message of salsa in a vendor neutral way that is
Yes.
really at the heart. Like OWASP conferences are very strict about vendor neutrality, right? And they, just like a lot of the Linux Foundation ones. So I think it's a good opportunity. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I think we're trying to even do the whole maintainer track thing. OpenSSF or rather Open Source Summit doesn't have a maintainer track, and they don't plan on it this year, but maybe next year. And so that's what we're trying to do. It's like, it's anybody, like folks said, anybody can do a talk on salsa. I can do a talk on salsa just for IBM, but that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to do a community talk. So the maintainers or the leads or the people that are actively participating actually give the talks. So we can come up, if we can get a short list of key conferences, right, and put them here, that would be fantastic. And then we can try to see, okay, when the deadlines are for those, what can we reuse, or what do we need maybe to come up with new? I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And one other thing to add in there, it's something that, so I was at Cloud Native Security Con last week, also representing Salsa at the OpenSSF booth. One of the things that I was bringing up to Brian and some of the other folks who are, at OpenSSF, they recommended that we maybe put up as a topic to the TAC some of this, of just like, hey, generally it would be great to have some of that alignment. Like I think I had mentioned before, as an example, different groups within the CNCF get maintainer tracks, or they'll, like, for example, tag security, which I'm a member of, in the CNCF, gets like a few hours just sort of dedicated to themselves that they can do as they see fit. And it would be nice to be able to see, like, on something like an OpenSSF day, if there was something like a maintainers track or a projects track where stuff like, OpenSSF could get, like Salsa could just automatically just sort of get in, and then we can, this group here can decide along with the broader Salsa community, say like, hey, we have 2 slots. Cool. So if folks want to talk about stuff on their own, they're still allowed to submit. But if you want to have a talk that represents Salsa, here's where you fit in. I think that would be useful. They just said that sort of thing needs to be discussed, I believe, with the TAC.
Yeah, and I did have that convo. Oh, I think Arno was on there. I don't know if Mike, you were there. No, Bruno and Arno were there because Bruno was covering for me, and then Arno had questions. I reached out to David Wheeler, C-Rob. I don't know his real name. Sorry. I just know the handle.
Christopher Robinson.
There you go. And Jen I'm blanking out here. There's Jennifer Bly, and then there's another, I think it's Jen. But there was two people that they told me to add to the conversation, and we asked, is there a maintainer track? Is there an OpenSSF day? They're like, oh, we're not 100% on OpenSSF day. The TAC still has yet to finalize that decision. So potentially when that happens, we might be able to bring it up when they start talking about OpenSSF, and if there are plans to have a maintainer or project slot for the key areas that they're trying to focus on. Again, I don't know what their plan is. I know, Arno, you regularly attend the TAC meetings. It conflicts with my scrums, so I can't attend those. Let's
Yeah.
see.
But no, I'm sorry. What are you asking about the TAC?
So once they start talking about the OpenSSF day, because according to some folks,
Yes, I haven't heard anything lately. So
yeah, so
Yeah.
they have to vote on it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah, that as far as even just last Thursday, they still hadn't voted on it.
right.
Yeah, so once they do vote on it, right, and if it does come to fruition, we can talk about, hey, is there a way, or how do we ensure that the key high-level projects or working groups or whatever you want to call them get a slot to speak? So that way we can kind of advance that topic in the same conversation as the vote, if that makes any sense. Sorry if I'm kind of going all over the place. So Arno, when they bring up OpenSSF Day, just bring up the maintainer track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, and Michelle, I can also work offline with you on if you need any other information. And I'll have to double check my submissions to make sure that I did, like I said, tweak a couple words. So I can give you the exact submission that was done. But yeah, I can do that.
I'm happy to do the beginner one. And if you give me the exact abstract, I am happy to do it verbatim and make it, I'm really good at podcasting and everything else. I can make it seem pretty spontaneous.
Yeah. Okay.
What you want me to submit, I'll do it.
Okay. Got it. One thing I did want to bring up, I think I had it. Where is it?
Hey Melba, I missed that comment
hey.
about OpenSSF Day. What was that?
OpenSSF Day is not finalized. The TAC has to vote. So we can't submit.
I think, well, they had a discussion today, and I think the vote is a formality. I believe there will be an OpenSSF Day.
Okay. Yeah, I think
I'm wrong on that, Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it's a formality and that it's very likely they will, but there's no decision really made yet. And unfortunately, that seems to be a repeating pattern. Every time I ask, hey, shouldn't we have an OpenSSF Day? And then they say, oh yeah, sure. And eventually it happens, but it's I don't know why. It seems to always be an afterthought. Even though at this point you would think that it's pretty much like, okay, built in, we know what we're doing.
Yeah. On the TAC meeting today, I know that came up, and it was pretty much the question was how much time is needed, and I think Jennifer mentioned something about 30 days is sufficient. I mean, that part's debatable, but I think where they all landed though collectively was that there would be an OpenSSF Day. I mean, it needs to get voted on, of course, but that's where the consensus was yes for that. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because if we have any plans, or if we're thinking about it, we might want to get ahead of the curve and decide what we want to do for it now, because I think the window is going to be very tight.
Sure. Yes, correct. Yeah,
Wait,
and that's
was there? I mean, Jay, I actually missed the very beginning of the call today, so maybe that's why. because they also
Ah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah. So this
openness
happened like in
town
the
hall.
first 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the minute says we intend to have an OpenSSF day in OSS Summit, Vancouver.
Yep.
During
Okay.
the first
Eh.
day, but separate registration.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully that the CFP opens for that sooner rather than later. As somebody who's been on some of the reviewers, the program committees for some of these things, reviewing whatever it might be, like a few hundred submissions is not an easy task to get done, and often usually it's like 2 weeks or so that you have to review.
So they talked about the CFP, but I wonder if this will really happen. I mean, this is an outreach. It's typically, have you been to any of the OpenSSF days before? It's very, very high level. It's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
guys, are you aware there's
Yes.
this thing called OpenSSF? Please join us.
Yeah,
Right.
that was pretty much OpenSSF Day in Japan. It was very much, hey, OpenSSF exists.
It was
Here's some
like that in
projects.
Dublin. It was like that in forget where it was before. So I attended 2 of them, and it was always the same, like very, very high level, and it's always planned kind of last minute. So there's very little time to do any kind of formal call for participation with program committee and all. I don't know. I know Ava wanted to have the thing done better, so maybe that will happen.
So I just put in, I see a new person. I don't recall seeing you, but if you wanted to introduce yourself, feel free. If not, that's okay.
Hi, Jonathan Leitshu, sticking my head in. I am the senior software security researcher for Project Alpha Omega.
Got it.
Yeah. Open source security researcher, mostly focused on automating fixing vulnerabilities at scale through bulk pull request generation. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. So you're catching the tail end of some of our conversation. We just submitted some talks. As a positioning group, we've been trying to, at least for this year, make sure that we do submit talks at conferences, that we try to write more blogs, and kind of evangelize SLSA, educate the community about SLSA. And so that's why we were talking about the OpenSSF. And so I do have a thread with C. Rob and David Wheeler and Jennifer Bly. Yes, there you go. Jennifer Bly. Oh, and I am running out of battery. Give me 1 second. I need to move. I just realized my battery. And so I do have a conversation with them, and I asked about OpenSSF Day. So I'll probably keep pinging them to say, where's the link for the submission? And so once they give me the link.
The CFP for the Vancouver event is open, but I guess there's not one for OpenSSF. I would be the thing about OpenSSF Day, and part of the reason that I have maybe thought about not doing things at OpenSSF Day specifically is because I don't know how many new people show up there, and if it's not new people, how much of an echo chamber are we just creating by presenting to people that already know about this stuff versus like new people that will actually learn something, that are the people we're trying to target with the new information.
Yeah, for OpenSSF Day, we, at least in this group, we're envisioning a high-level talk of all of what we've done or going to do. But we have submitted talks to the general open source summit, and that actually closed already for Vancouver. So we're really now just talking about, okay, when is OpenSSF Day CFP going to come up? Because it would be good to have a slot to talk about all things SLSA. And if it's not just SLSA, maybe it's a slot for Supply Chain Integrity Working Group, which contains SLSA, Fresca, and then S2C2F.
I think the Open Source Summit North America CFP, I thought they extended it to the 14th.
Did they?
That
Maybe?
wouldn't
Otherwise,
surprise me. I didn't see it, but it's pretty typical they do. But in any case,
Oh,
I mean, Jonathan, we don't know how they're going to run this OpenSSF day. We only know how they've run them. There have been 3 of them, I think, so far, and they all have been very high level. There is a desire, as I was saying, to make them a bit more structured, and with giving more people an opportunity to speak up during OpenSSF day. At this point, we don't know how they're going to run it.
Yeah. So the CFP is closed already. It was supposed to be Sunday night. Yeah,
Yikes.
but
I missed it. I thought that they had extended it. Well, that means that my CFP is not completed. Oh, Lord. I might
Well,
email someone.
there's an open gov con if you want to submit to the
I know.
So sorry to break your bubble.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But there is one that was extended that Michelle mentioned. There's Global AppSec DC that was extended to February 13th. So I don't know if that's what you're thinking of. But yeah. Okay, so quick pivot. I do want to talk about this because it is important. The press release for 1.0. I had asked Josh and Mark if they were already working with Jennifer Bly. Isaac said that he was already working on it. And so there's a couple of things with the 1.0 launch. We want to start working on the website, the OpenSSF landing page. So Tracy already gave me the template. So I have to find the link for the template, but I will share the template, and we need to start crafting what we think we want on that landing page. And part of that landing page hopefully would be that press release, right? So hopefully we can coordinate it, sync it in time so that we can do both and have more visibility that way. The other thing is about ChainGuard did some survey about what the industry thinks about SLSA. I have asked Tracy if ChainGuard could provide a pre-review at the very least to the SIG leads so that we can prepare a follow-up response, not to alter the findings, but if they say these are the deficiencies, we can talk to saying, okay, well, 1.0 addresses this now, or our roadmap in Q4 is going to address this, right? So she agreed to that. The pre-release is supposed to be sometime soon. So I'll have to keep tabs on that, but there will be some sort of pre-release that I will ask at the very least the SIG leads. I don't know if I'll be able to open up further than that, and it'll probably be a private review because it is a pre-release. It won't be recorded, unfortunately. So once it does get released, we can have blogs available ready to talk about what the ChainGuard findings were or what the industry was thinking about SLSA. So just kind of a heads up on those things. So these were all things that I talked to Tracy Miranda about, I think it was last week or the week before, I can't remember.
Just to
Questions,
be clear,
comments?
Melba, just to be clear, when you say pre-release, you're talking about the survey result, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's pre-release of survey results. Yes, correct. They're gonna do an entire report, is my understanding, and I think they're gonna do a blog post about it. So I've just asked nicely, hey, just clue us in so that we are ready for a response and it doesn't come out of left field. So she said that she's willing to do that. So be on the lookout for that. And then again, the OpenSSF landing page. I'll provide a link to that. I don't have it right now. So any thoughts and comments on that? No. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Quick question.
Okay.
So that's not going to include the source integrity piece. It's just going to be build integrity. Is that still the case?
Which one? The press release?
Yeah.
The press release is the SLSA build 1.0 release, right? What they've been working on, because we do know that that's not including source.
Okay.
Yeah, at least that's what I understood from Isaac, that he's working on it. Isaac.
Yeah. Yeah, also source is not really in much of the 1.0 release, where we're mostly focused on, given the sort of lack of tools in the source end, or rather I should say the lack of sort of cutting edge tools on the source end, we've been mostly focused on the build end, because that's where a lot of, you know, the effort has been.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns around either the landing page, the pre-release of the survey results, or the hold on, the announcement of 1.0.
So the landing page is for Salsa on the OpenSSF website, right?
Yes, correct.
And it will then send people to the Salsa dev website, I suppose.
It can, but it doesn't have to. So OpenSSF landing page, Alf, is it Alf? I did a 6 store, just did one. So like this, as an example, was a template that she gave me. And so we would want to create something like this. I know that there's been, for example, people presenting about their implementation of Salsa. We might want to link those recordings or presentations here. Here are the recent news, etc. So, and then these are the other links. So it doesn't have to just be about going to salsa.dev. It could be about new announcements or things coming up and how it plugs into the overall OpenSSF mobilization plan. But hoping that we can have that 1.0 release recording here. Because I think Tracy said that this page aligned very well with their update or their release. I can't remember. And so it gave it even more visibility. And so hoping that we can get that squared away. So I'll have to find the template that she gave me, and then I'll share it out with you all on Slack. And then we can kind of start putting in ideas of what we think we want in there and how we might want to change things. And they have some editors that will help with the overall design. But at the very least, if we can give them a high level idea and we can give them the content, then they can focus on actually the implementing. The other thing I have on here is, I don't think the request for comment is officially out yet, is it? I didn't attend yesterday because I had a meeting conflict, so I'm not sure if the 1.0.
For Salsa?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay. Do we have a new timeline for the RFs, for the request for comment?
No, we have an issue that lists what we must do to be able to get there.
Okay. Let me. Got it. Okay, so based off of that, I know these were some blog ideas that I was thinking about in terms of once we go into RFC phase, obviously we're going to get a lot of feedback, but if we can start thinking about the developer blog that we started and didn't finish because things changed on us, to finish that developer blog, focus on a what's new blog, right? A comparison of old versus new. Talk about SBOM versus Salsa provenance, at least from the 1.0 perspective, and what we're doing tactically versus roadmap, and then why we broke up build versus source. A lot of people aren't going to be part of that conversation or have been part of that conversation. So there's going to be a a big question mark once they see that it's specifically for build and not build and source. And so I think a blog about that would be a good idea. But any other thoughts on other things that we could talk about for the 1.0 release?
So I think one of the big ones that is still confusing folks, and I think it's something that I know this is part of what we're trying to do with the positioning group anyway, is really sort of educating folks like how salsa differs from an SBOM and why it's kind of different than what an SBOM is, and how it's different than, there's a bunch of different things that have come out even just in the past few days. There's something called a P-bomb, and there's a bunch of different things. Yeah, that and just sort of get, show folks like what that means and why, like where salsa is mostly, focused around, which I think like the folks on this call have a great understanding, but I think a lot of folks who are just sort of looking at the ecosystem, they say, hey, why would I use salsa and not this? And why would I use an SBOM and not salsa? And those sorts of things. Yeah, I think at least in my opinion, salsa's greatest strength is in the fact that it's not trying to be everything. It's just trying to be this one specific, hey, we're trying to verify the integrity of source to the artifact so that you have a better understanding that, yes, what went into the artifact is what actually came out, so that if some, that doesn't stop things from getting compromised, but it helps prevent these sorts of attacks and those sorts of things. And then provides better information for other systems later down the line, whether it's a P-bomb, S-bomb, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I think that's where, I think I had salsa provenance, but I could just say salsa instead of salsa provenance, because there's that discrepancy, right, that a lot of people see, including myself, right? So if I have that idea of, hey, this is not quite aligning to the NIST definition, other people are going to think the same thing. And so if we can clarify, this is what it is or isn't with respect to the NIST definitions or OWASP definition, right, then I think that'll help the conversation of making that distinction. Because like even like someone like myself, I'm still trying to not connect the dots, but trying to figure out why the gap, right? And I know that's a different conversation, but I think that would probably be aligned with that, with this kind of topic.
Yep.
Are we saying that there's a confusion about the difference between salsa and SBOMs? Is that what? Are we saying that there's confusion?
Well, the salsa provenance.
Provenance.
And SBOM.
Oh, salsa provenance specifically, and then
Yeah.
SBOM.
Yeah. That's where
So then, maybe we should say salsa provenance then, because I don't see a salsa is you would use SBOMs as part of helping to meet one of the levels in salsa. Like I don't, but in terms of salsa,
no, but
so we're gonna table that, Jay.
Yes.
There's an
I
entire
don't know that you
thread.
want to go into this.
Yeah, there's an entire thread about that exact thing and why I want to do that blog, right? Because I am very much advocating for what you just said, and a lot of people are, but I don't think
you can't even
either
take
we're
a
not
nap anymore, right? You could. It's not even a full night of sleep now. You can't even take a nap now. You can't even.
Yeah, it's I don't think the communications have been working well, and so I need to create a meeting to say, okay, let's do this live, because I think we're disagreeing fundamentally on what it should or shouldn't be, and then I feel like there has to be a happy medium. So we're going to table that, Jay. Not this call.
Right.
And I can invite you if you'd like.
I got you.
Yeah. And then let me put P-bomb. But yeah, I had salsa provenance before. And then I think I heard OWASP or Steve call M-bomb too. He mentioned M-bomb.
Yes, and Bob.
Yeah, I don't want us to get because even within the Linux Foundation, there's a thing that there's a Linux Foundation project called DBOM. There's a lot of these different
The more the
things,
merrier.
which is one of the reasons why also I don't want to get into it here, but it's like Salsa's trying to be something very narrow and specific, and we don't want to get because I think there's a lot of folks who all have disagreements on what's complete, what's not. Yeah.
So I think this is a really, really important conversation even before the 1.0 comes out, right? Because I think it might help set up the 1.0 a little bit when it is time to release. But there's a lot of conversations happening in this space. And when you look at the NIST document and they talk about provenance, they mention SLSA, right? And so NIST says provenance and mentions SLSA as a reference, but SLSA does not reference NIST's definition of provenance. So there's a disconnect there. And so that is part of the conversation, is trying to figure out where is that happy medium and what are we truly trying to aim for. And if we come to, okay, this is it, this is what we're going to aim for, we're not straying, then it's a position that we have to communicate out to the industry of this is it, and this is why, and let's just move on, right? So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. And I think that's one of the things that would be useful probably for a 1.0 that maybe we add on there, which is just kind of a glossary of terms.
Yeah.
And with, so one of the things that I think is really useful that NIST does is NIST has like all those citations to other things and examples so that they can show like, hey, we're maybe not 100% in line with this other thing, but here's where we do align, here's where we don't align. With that said, there's still going to be lots of folks, I just throwing it out there, there's going to be lots of folks who are going to come in and say, well, my interpretation of this definition is actually separate from your interpretation of the definition. But I think if we have at least a little bit more there, it can help out.
Yeah, at least an agreement between the SIG leads and and the key contributors would be nice, because I don't think we even have that right now, especially not with me. And again, I think it might be communication. So we'll table that. Thoughts, questions, comments, other ideas of what we could potentially talk about in terms of a blog?
So one other thing I think that is, we talk about it a little bit in the blog, but gearing up for 1.0, related to that SBOM versus SLSA provenance, there's also the other piece, which is like NIST SSBF, the secure software development framework versus this versus there's an OWASP one called SCVS, I believe is the term.
Software component verification. Yes, Matt Rakowski was supposed to do a presentation on that during the other call, but I haven't gotten him to schedule it yet.
Yeah, so I mean, I know a little bit about that one as well. I think once again, where NIST, I think where we're well positioned is more in the simplicity of it. I believe to be, once again, the folks who make SCVS don't believe so, or some of the folks I should say. But I believe that SLSA is a complement to SCVS. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff there.
Verification standard, yeah.
Yeah, because I believe if you look at that, there's like something like 50 or so requirements, whereas our thing has about like 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but Michael, I mean, the way I see it is very shortly, is on the one end, we have SLSA, which started with build environment information and is moving toward extending to have like artifact references, which basically gives you source dependencies information. And so it's evolving in that direction. And the SBOM people are doing the same work, but from the other end. They started with the source dependencies information, and they are moving towards adding build information. So unfortunately, it means that we have an overlap with two communities coming from different end and going towards, the same other end, but crossing, in parallel, crossing each other and not really meeting anywhere unless we try to make it happen. And so I always say, those kind of accidents, happen, but it's, if we can try to enable some convergence, if we can, I think we should try.
Yeah.
I'd say we also could piggyback off of the blog that we already did for the that explains the connections.
Was it the trifecta? I know what you're talking about. All about the baseline.
Yeah, I just put it in chat. Yeah, the link to it. Yeah, it's
looking for the chat. Chat. There it is.
Oh, I can put it in here.
Yeah, thank you, because it's hard for me to find things when I'm sharing. Thank you. Yeah, I do remember that one. We did not cover the software component verification standard, but we did cover SSDF. And I know even Brandon Lum, I think, he had an SBOM versus SLSA blog. But yeah, this one was talking about, it used to be trifecta, and then we talked about these three, but this was based off version 1. So that's the only thing about it. This is older, so we might need to do an update to this based off of 1.0. So maybe update previous or 1.0 spec. So I think that's going to have to get done too. Other thoughts on the 1.0 or even anything else? I know we have a ton of stuff that we can talk about, but
Yeah, so the link to SLSA provenance, that link doesn't work.
not anymore. I can never find the real link.
so now it's actually just considered a draft on the actual SLSA page. So if you click SLSA, I believe it's just the normal thing, so if you just change the V, yeah, 1 point, yeah, there we go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, before it wasn't there officially. Okay, so thank you. Edit link.
Well, it's not there officially. We haven't published it. It's hidden.
Oh, it's not.
But
it's there
actually,
now.
provenance is not. I think it's the. It's
Yeah,
other
I think the
1.0.
requirement. Yeah, I think if you go to the requirements.
Yeah, that one's hidden for sure.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
provenance.
Yeah, but you
there's another
can-
provenance page though.
Is there?
There's another
Mike
provenance
says.
page that if you go to salsa.dev /provenance, that page is still visible, and it'll say underneath, not that one. It'll say version 1.0. That's the one I found. That one's there, and it'll say retired. Oh, so yours just automatically goes to that. I'll show you my screen to show you what I'm
Okay.
looking.
Yeah, go for it.
You mean 01?
01, right?
Yes. Yeah, 01 is retired.
Yeah, so this one is
yeah.
I'm not sure if the purpose is to keep it there. And then, but if it's retired, or name it something different. This is
I
what
wonder-
first popped up for me, so that's what I first saw.
You bring up a good point, because I wasn't even paying attention to that bottom status.
It's something we added recently.
Okay. I'm wondering if we should make that like red or something. I know it might clash with the website, but something that gives it more focus so that people realize it is retired. Because honestly, I glossed over that. I didn't even see it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even, hell, to drop down on this, if this is the first thing that came up, and I know we're still in .1, and this says version .2, and we're not even in the .2.
So that's interesting because when I go there and I just use provenance and I hit enter, it does not take me to .1. It only takes me to .2.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes, provenance, if you just put salsa.dev provenance, you go to 0.2.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see .1
Yeah, but now-
automatically. I have to actually go
You
there.
have to search for it, but I guess if Jay has it like cached or like he had a bookmark, that's, you go back
Yeah.
to the old one.
Correct. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I got there. I wonder if it'll do it again. And by the way, this is the first time I've ever gone to this site on this system. So I
Okay.
usually go on my other system, because that's my other system is the one I'm usually attending meetings on. So it's the first time I've ever gone there, so it wouldn't be cached. But I'll show you here. Of course, now it's going to probably take me to the last thing I saw, so it's not even gonna.
Yes,
It's not even
exactly.
gonna do the same thing as before, right? But this is what I did, right? So I went here. I just put salsa provenance here, hit the button, and yeah, no, I did it again. Sent me right here to
That's-
.1 and retired. That's exactly where it sent me.
What
Oh, but
browser
you
is that?
click on the link from where?
This is a Chrome browser. This is a Chrome browser.
Okay.
No,
Hmm.
but the link you clicked on, I think, when it's to the actual 0.1 version.
Could be.
Okay. Let me see. I've lost my windows here. There you go. Share Chrome. You should see this. Okay. Salsa level 2 is skipped. Huh?
Oh, yeah, I was just looking at the get started page and it, I didn't know if it was on purpose, but there's reaching level 1 and then level 2. And then I was just wondering if there's a reason why we don't talk about level 2.
I feel like that's a mistake. It has to be a mistake.
So I
Ye-
can tell you there's a pull request being worked on right now on revising that page. I don't know if it adds level 2 for that matter, but it's definitely adding some content.
Yeah. I mean, you need level 2. I know the group was pretty solid on level 1 and level 2. And it was level 3 where they just needed to tie some things up, if I remember correctly. So I don't think. Go ahead.
I think the problem is, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this in the spec working group, but or spec SIG, but you know, it's based on the tools that are available today, and it's either you pretty much do nothing, use Salsa 1, or if you use the right tool, you get to Salsa 3 right away. And so that's why this spec or this page basically skips Salsa 2.
Yeah, we should still have something there, but I think Salsa 2 is the only real difference between Salsa 1 and Salsa 2 is Salsa 2 is you're signing it. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's really, you know, a really minimal change compared to Salsa 3, which is you're signing it and you're doing the right things to protect the signing material from attack.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so the question is, should we have something about getting to Salsa 2? And
I think so. That's going to confuse people. It's like, what happened to Salsa 2?
yeah, and in fact, the pull request, I can tell you, I commented on it, is that it says, if you haven't started, you might as well just aim for Salsa 3 directly, because you're kind of wasting your time going through L1 first and L2 because it's not a linear progression anyway. And the work you do getting to 1 and 2 is kind of maybe a waste of time.
That could be a recommendation, but it shouldn't be we're going to ignore your use case or the way you want to migrate, right? It should be, if you want to do it this way, you can go 1, 2, 3, but we would recommend, based off our experience, that you go directly to 3 and start with 3. But you shouldn't discount people wanting to do 1 and 2
I
first.
hear you. I don't
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the original, a lot of the original stuff was if you don't already have CI, let's say, if you don't already have a build system, then hitting 3 is pretty straightforward. But if you have something that is 1, well, at least you're starting, or if you have something that's close to 1, at least you're starting. It's just that, as you know, a lot of folks, I think, on this call know, like if you're building out CI pipelines, often that stuff is a huge amount of tech debt. So if you're starting off new and you don't have something that exists, it's probably easier to hit 3 than it is to say, well, I'm going to start and hit 1, and then I'm going to go up to 2 and then go up to 3. I think that's the thing that we're trying to get across. I think we just need to be better at communicating that message.
Yeah. Okay. So we are over on time, and I do have a volunteer event to go to, so I will have to cut it here. But thanks everyone for joining. I will send out meeting notes later today, and I will make sure to emphasize the landing page template, so that way folks can review and start adding comments or content, so that we can kind of just get that done.
Okay, I put in the chat the link to the pull request I was referring to, which is
Okay.
about updating the get started page.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna copy paste because I'm gonna lose those. Hold on.
Yeah. You should have put it in the doc.
Copy paste. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, I just put it in the meeting notes.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your
Bye-bye.
time. Have a good day.